Hey everybody, welcome to the Abroaders Travel Podcast, your weekly meetup with thousands of entrepreneurs, hustlers, creators, nomads, ninjas, wanderers, and world changers, all seeking to build the skills and connections to live a life without borders. If you want to learn more about what we do or download our entire podcast archive, check out the website, abroaders.com.
Happy Wednesday morning, and welcome to another episode of the Abroaders Travel Podcast. I'm AJ Dunn, here with Eric Paquette, and we're going to talk about booking award tickets today. Today's episode can be found at www.abroaders.com/booking.
How's it going, buddy?
Going well, man. So to let everyone know, Eric and I are both here in Rio right now. We're at his apartment in Flamengo, and this is actually going to be the last episode we do in the same location for a while, because actually later today I'm hopping on a plane to Detroit, and then I'm going to head off to Mexico for a little bit of time, and you were leaving Rio as well, aren't you?
Yeah, good that you're not going to be stuck in the cold for too long. I'm headed up to Salvador. Spent a really great time here in Rio, but I think it's time to move on. I really want to check out Salvador. A lot of really interesting cultural stuff going on. It's one of the biggest places for African roots in all of the Western Hemisphere. And so we've got African music, dance, capoeira, which is like a Brazilian fighting dance, and just a really interesting place that I haven't gotten to see. So I'm really looking forward to checking that out. Also got another member of the Dynamite Circle I just found out, Shayna from Espresso English. Just got a shout out on the Tropical MBA podcast last week. Didn't even know she was in Brazil, so hopefully I'll be able to meet up with her and grab some beers. She does English teaching, which is obviously of significant interest to anybody who wants to be a
this
broader.
is a good place to be an English teacher right now.
Great place, and an awesome way to make money if you want to travel and get to see some other places in the world. If you speak English, you got a great asset.
Yeah, definitely, man, without a doubt.
All right, so we got a full episode for you guys today. We're going to talk about some recent bookings that we've made, including how I'm getting to Salvador and AJ is getting to Detroit and Mexico without paying a whole lot of money. We're also going to talk about one of our premium booking clients that just booked into business class for a phenomenal award ticket. Also have a little bit of a Abroaders inspiration story on some very cool entrepreneurship and opportunities going on in Argentina and Brazil. Last, we're going to talk about a few updates that we've got planned for the website to get you guys some more free resources, and a very small sneak peek at our software project that is going to create a booking engine that makes it easier to find and lock up those frequent flyer tickets. Okay, let's get on to the episode, buddy.
Yeah, man, so some recent bookings. So you want to explain how you booked your flight up to Bahia? It was
with a little shame, but yeah, I will. I'll be happy to explain. So I got back the other night, and I had taken a look at these flights earlier on, and I saw that they were running for about 700 round trip. And mind you, Rio de Janeiro to Salvador is like flying from, New York to Denver. It's not a super long flight, maybe a couple of hours. And I saw that the flight was kind of expensive, and I had been flying and paying for a whole bunch of flights with one of Brazil's local carriers. It's a regional carrier called Gol, and Gol is partners with Delta. So all of those other flights I had been paying for, Sao Paulo to Florianopolis, Florianopolis back, Sao Paulo to Rio, paid for all those flights and credited the points to Delta. So I was feeling really good, boosted up my balance a little bit here, and decided that I was going to book myself an award flight on Delta using Gol. So I got home, got it booked, 25,000 miles round trip and $18 in taxes. I was feeling awesome. Then I got the email the next day and realized that the actual full fare price was not $700, but 700 reais.
big difference.
Didn't check the currency symbol, so I actually only saved $300. Probably wasn't worth 25,000 Delta miles, but I can't really get out of it now. It's a $150 change fee, so I'm going to live and learn and just smile as I paid $18 in taxes. AJ, you did a lot better than I did.
I got a little bit better of a deal than you did. So I'm heading to Detroit from Rio, and if you checked out Orbitz or Kayak, the best deal you'd find on an American flight, and pretty much any one-way ticket, was about $1,900. And I managed to get from Rio to Detroit for 20,000 American miles and only $126 in fees. So right there, saved just about $1,800, and I would have actually spent less in fees had I booked it earlier, but I had to pay the close-in booking fee because it was within 21 days of the flight. But still, an awesome deal, and that comes out to like a little over 9 cents per mile, a metric we'll explain a little bit later. But
yeah, we're going to get into more detail about how we evaluate those miles and really try and dig down deep on how you can figure out whether it's a better choice to book your flight with miles or to bite the bullet and pay in cash and save those miles for a better opportunity later down the line. But yeah, I think you may have set a new Abroaders record with 9.1 cents. It's hard to do that, especially in coach. It's really hard to get that much value. So phenomenal job there. Also going to take a look here at a recent booking request that we made for a client that wanted to get into business class. So Dan got a hold of us and asked us to help him take care of an upcoming business trip that he was making from Hong Kong to Barcelona and then traveling back a couple of weeks later from Madrid back to Hong Kong. And Dan has a bunch of Amex points, which is a really highly valuable currency because they have 17 different airline transfer partners. So it gave us a ton of flexibility. However, Dan doesn't have any other points outside of Amex. And so not being diversified in other programs was a little bit of a problem because most of the Amex partners have pretty heavy fuel surcharges on top of the value of the ticket. And so just to clarify here, what we're talking about, airlines break down the price of ticket into the actual ticket price and the fuel and fees and taxes. And what they manage to do is pull all that fuel and extra money out of the ticket price, and they can still charge that to you even when you're booking with miles. So it's a little bit of a bummer. Anyways, we searched on Delta, ANA, Singapore, Cathay Pacific, British Airways, and finally settled with Aeroplan, which is Air Canada's frequent flyer program. There was pretty limited date flexibility, which hurt Dan a little bit as well, since he wasn't able to look at a full calendar of options and decide the best day to leave when the inventory was there. So we had a business trip. We had to make sure he got there on time and got back when he needed to. There was also a pretty tough award inventory because Hong Kong routes tend to sell a ton of premium tickets. Lots of first and business class paid tickets go out of Hong Kong. So we were able to find that availability with Aeroplan. He's going to be flying Thai and Lufthansa on the way to Spain and Swiss on the way back. Those are all really nice really nice business class products, and they're all Star Alliance partners of Aeroplan.
Yeah, how much did that ticket cost if you would have just paid out of pocket?
That's a good question. He would have ended up spending $3,750, and that was the cheapest one that we could find on ITA, Matrix, or Orbitz, and it was pretty nasty routing too. So he got away with a lot there. Fuel surcharges did come out to $470, and that brings up an important issue there.
Yeah, so when you're booking a flight with fuel surcharges, you always want to make sure that you check how much a flight actually costs. So if the fuel surcharges are $500, about like what they were for Dan's flight, and your ticket would have cost $1,000, then you're only really saving about $500 there. So if your flight's going to be $1,000 with that fuel surcharge, you're really not getting the savings you want. Where Dan ended up saving, over a couple $1,000s.
Right, yeah, it makes a huge difference. The economy ticket for the exact same route Dan wanted to fly was just over $1,000. So in that case, we would have said save your miles, use them on a different time.
Yeah, it saved over $3,200 doing that. So
it makes a big difference. The other thing that you should remember is that the lack of diversification did hurt Dan here with the fuel surcharges. If he had some United miles, his flight would have been under $150 to fly in business class because United doesn't pass through those fuel surcharges. So there's pros and cons. You got to kind of wade through all the extra stuff to try and find that option that's going to be the absolute best. We're going to get into more detail about how to make those choices and evaluations a little bit later in this show. Let's get inspired.
Eric and I actually have a buddy. He's an Argentine, but he just moved to Rio. And the reason he moved to Rio is because a year ago he bought a pizzeria in La Plata, Argentina. And
just suburb of Buenos Aires.
Yeah,
right?
Just about an hour and a half outside there. And so he really liked this place. It was a good location, he thought. They had fairly loyal customers for what he described as having pretty bad food. And so he saved up some money, and for $10,000 he bought this pizzeria. And over the course of a year, he completely transformed the place with a new menu, better customer service, changed some pricings on some things, increased the margins a little bit without, scaring away the patrons. And he recently sold that for $90,000 a couple months ago, where in the United States that might not be a huge cash amount for selling a restaurant, but considering the investment of $10,000 and he sold it for $90,000, that's a huge, massive flip for 1 year. And so now he just moved to Rio and he's looking for a location to kind of replicate that process and open up a pizzeria here. which they could really use because about 99% of the pizza is complete garbage here.
It's awful. It's hard. Lots of grease. They definitely could use some of Facundo's pizza making wisdom.
Yeah.
It's also a really good example of how geo arbitrage can create business opportunity, right, AJ? So
Yeah, exactly.
you got Argentina not doing so well. The currency, you don't really want to be making your money in pesos right now because the inflation is just eroding all that value. So Facu moves to Brazil, he's going to be making reais, and when he goes back, that's going to have more buying power in Argentina. It's also applicable to all you abroaders out there that have bank accounts in US dollars, euros, pounds, or basically any stable currency. Argentina is still an awesome place. It is a world-class city in Buenos Aires.
Yep.
There's phenomenal nightlife, there's great food, there's good wine, there's nice people. Everything you could really want.
It's pretty much it. I mean, it's as high end of a trip as you can do for like a reasonable price. I mean, compared to going to Paris, it's probably a third of the cost. Maybe cheaper. It's actually quite a bit cheaper.
Last time we were there, we were looking at a 4-to-1 to the US dollar exchange rate. Now it's over 10. So the value of their currency is plummeting, and that is good for you if you want to go be an abroader there.
Yeah, definitely. Huge opportunity.
All right, so let's move on and talk a little bit about some general heuristics for booking award tickets. We spent a lot of time working hard to earn those miles, and we want to help you go through the nuts and bolts of the process to actually get those tickets booked. So, to start off, you're going to want to work with the website if at all possible. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, awful, or even non-existent. You can't always use the website, but where they're available, they can be nice because you're going to avoid the phone booking fees, and you're also going to avoid long hold times and lots of frustration with agents. Usually the website is the best option for simple itineraries, especially on the airline whose points you have. So using American Miles to book on American flights is super easy through their website. Sometimes partner airlines get left out. It can be a little bit more difficult. So if you're looking to book a partner airline, online booking doesn't always show the availability. And it helps to use Google to search something like book award flight with Delta Miles or book a partner award with Delta Miles. You set those searches up, you're going to find there's tons of people in this community that have done huge tutorials, all kinds of videos, 50 steps to make a booking. So you're going to find a good resource if you just know how to search for it.
Yeah. Now, if you actually don't have the opportunity to book online, you're going to end up calling an agent. And there's something you really need to keep in mind is that all agents are not created equal. So you'll have some that are more helpful, some that are more intelligible, some that are just more, they're just more keen to help you. Somebody's maybe having a bad day. So the key here is if you ask for a certain trip or a certain itinerary and they tell you they can't do it or it's not available, you should at least politely hang up, call back, and maybe the next agent will be able to help you more because there's a reasonable chance that the agent didn't even know the other partner airlines with the points you're using. Maybe they thought the route was illegal when it actually is legal. I know I've seen Eric,
it's a great
15
point.
or 20 times, just try with a new agent where the initial agent didn't realize that we could fly a certain airline with those points.
Yeah, well, a lot of times it's just a factor of not knowing what the intermediate routings can be. So if you're flying from Asia to Europe, there's a lot of places you could stop on the way. And they may be just checking a handful of your options there and leaving it out either because they are bored, they're lazy, they don't want to help you, or they don't know how. And so it takes a long time. That's why you want to use the website if you can. But sometimes if you just play agent roulette, you will get that booking that you need eventually. All right. Last thing to know about this is you need to double check your work. AJ got his very awesome award ticket, and a few days later got a message saying that the ticket had been canceled. And so it's really important to remember that a record locator is not actually a ticket with a right to sit in that seat on the plane. What you need to be looking for is that the reservation was ticketed, and that means you'll have an e-ticket number. That's your right to sit in the seat. Otherwise, you're not out of the woods. So you got to make sure that you give them a call or you check the website, use that record locator, and make sure your reservation's been taken.
Yeah, don't put yourself through the nightmare that is showing up to the airport without an actual plane ticket.
Who are you? We're not ready for you today.
I did that once right when I started working my first job out of university. That was no fun. I booked a flight for the 10th, and I showed up to the airport the 11th because I thought my flight was then, and I didn't realize that my flight had already left 24 hours before. That was not cool.
To the best of us. All right, so we're going to take a second here and go through our process for booking award tickets when we're helping other people, either clients or other abroaders, And hopefully this will be helpful for you guys so you know what kind of information you need to have at your fingertips so that you can succeed in getting that award ticket booked.
It starts out with a discovery phase. This pretty much gives us all the information we need to help you succeed. How many miles do you have? Do you have any churns that are about to come up and you're going to get another mile bonus? Where do you want to go? When do you want to go there? Do you have desire for any stopovers, open jaws, or are you flexible? So that's kind of the discovery phase that helps us get going.
All right, so the next part is the research phase, and for that, first let's define a couple of objectives. Primary objectives are to get you where you want to go when you need to get there, and minimize the cost in cash and in miles. And the priority for that differs a little bit based on how big of a portfolio of miles you have and how strapped you are for cash. Obviously, a very poor college student is going to want to save as much cash as possible. Somebody redeeming for a $5,000 business class fare might not mind paying a little more in fuel surcharges and taxes. And so the calculation that we talked about earlier, those cents per point, is a really important metric that we use to determine how well we're doing and track value across people's frequent flyer point portfolios. So the way that it works is you take your paid fare. For example, AJ just saved $1,900 on his one-way flight back to the U.S. You take away or subtract any cash that you did end up paying for the award. So you got hit with a $75 early booking fee, taxes and fees came out to $126.
Yep.
Subtract that and divide by miles. That's how many cents you're saving with each mile that you're paying. So the more pennies per mile that you're making on every redemption, the better deal you're getting, and that's how we're going to use that.
Yeah, put simply, you can just think of it as getting the most expensive tickets if you're to buy them for the fewest amount of miles. Just maximizing the miles you have.
Right on. So with those objectives in mind, then we start looking at routes and cross-referencing the different charts so we can see what kind of pricing is going to come up in miles. As we said before, it's always really important to take a look at the cost of actually buying the ticket. In some cases, people make requests for us to book with miles, and we come back and say, it's really a much better idea for you to buy this with cash unless you absolutely can't do it because you're getting a very poor value for your miles in that situation. So it's a little bit of extra work to go through and check all those charts. Just look at the distance charts, look at the zone charts, and get a price for every single airline that customer has a chance of booking with based on the point portfolio they have. And so that's a good transition. It's one of the tools we're working on right now. We're not going to talk a whole lot about it here, but just to give you a quick sneak peek, we're working on something that's going to allow members of the community to track their credit card churns so that they know which credit cards they have, what the annual fees are, when those fees are coming up, and what the deadlines are for those minimum spends. We also want you to know what it's costing you to earn your points so that you're taking a look at the sum of all those annual fees and any other premium services that you use that are related to travel. And we're going to put that all into a points dashboard so that you're looking at your current balances and what your potential balances could be if you made transfers or if you applied for certain cards and topped up those accounts with new frequent flyer bonuses. Last but not least, we want to bring in what experts think the points are worth. So we spend a lot of time thinking about this stuff. We're going to aggregate information from the community, and there's people that have been doing this for 15 years that have a huge pulse on the industry and really know what's going on. So that's all coming up. It's going to be a little bit of time in development, but we want to hear from you guys, especially those of you that have been in this for a little while and have some experience. We want to know what tools would make this easier for you so that we can make this software the best possible web application that it can be. All right, let's talk about a couple of tools real quick before we move on to the close of the episode here. One of my favorite recent tools is called openflights.org. It synchronizes with TripIt. And the combination of those two can give you some really cool information about your traveling. AJ, quick rundown here. So OpenFlights basically tracks all of the flights that you've ever taken, and it's pulling that information out of TripIt. You've used TripIt for a little while now, right?
Yeah. I'm actually hopping onto my TripIt right now. TripIt's pretty slick. I really like it because it centralizes everything, my airfare and my lodging. So, right now I just pulled in. I saw I've got a flight I had booked to Sao Paulo. I've got the apartment I was staying at here in Rio. And it's also got some cool stuff where I scroll down to the bottom and it shows kind of my travel stats where since I've been on Trip It, I've done 4 trips, 74 days, 75,000 miles, 26 cities, and 14 different countries. So it's pretty cool to keep tabs on that stuff. And like I said, it just feeds whatever email you book with on like Airbnb or your flights. It just centralizes everything right there. Really good iPhone app too. I don't know how good it is on Android, but the iPhone app's pretty slick.
Very cool. Definitely check those out. We're going to link over to that in the show notes as well. All right, now getting to the close of the episode, I want to give you a couple of updates about what you can expect in the near future on the Abroaders website. First of all, we're going to be revamping credit card pages. If you've checked out our page on credit cards, you probably know that we've got some of the best current offers that are on the market up there so that you can make those applications and earn some points. What we don't have is a well-organized setup so that you can search through all the credit cards that are available based on the type of points you want to earn. So we're going to be working on that soon, as well as more comprehensive airline pages that let you know what's going on with each frequent flyer program, whether they do stopovers, open jaws, booking rules, things like close-in booking fees, change fees, where you can book online, what's the phone number, all that good stuff that you're going to need to actually make those reservations. If you don't see what you're looking for on the website, shoot us an email, support@abroaders.com. We will do everything we can to help you out, and we're trying to get that information up and live as fast as possible.
Yeah, we've also got some content coming up. We were lucky to have a fellow Abrada correspondent had the boots on the ground in Cuba, spent some time around Havana, so you can expect a report on that coming up in the near future. And Eric and I have been down here for Carnival with our friends. We've got a bunch of content, a bunch of good stuff, and we can give you a nice recap if it's ever something you want to do, how you go about finding a place, and everything you want to know.
Awesome. Looking forward to that, man. Before we get out of here, I've been using WhatsApp all the time down here. At least in this part of the world, Latin America, everybody seems to have WhatsApp, and it's a really good way to stay in touch. You're going to meet a lot of friends, and a lot of times the fees and prices for text messages are a little bit ridiculous down here. So easy enough to get WhatsApp, sign up on your phone. We had a great little group chat going for Carnival. It happened to include both the person that rented us our place and one of the friends that helped us look for it, so they were probably getting a little nervous with some of the videos and pictures that were coming in from the party, wondering if their apartment was still going to be in one piece when they got back. The only real drawback, con that I would give you from WhatsApp is if you're part of a group chat like we have, you're not able to remove yourself, which is kind of a bad feature. I feel kind of bad for the guys that had to go home early after Carnival. We were still out here having fun, and they were getting pinged every single time we had something fun to talk about, and they were sitting back home doing nothing. So that's the only downside, but definitely a good tool since so many people have it.
Yeah, and you guys, probably a lot of you have heard of WhatsApp because of the recent acquisition. Facebook just bought them for like $19 billion. But another one to look into, especially if you're heading to Asia, is WeChat. It's actually, in my opinion, quite a bit more powerful. Not that WhatsApp doesn't do the job, but it's got a bunch of really cool features. And from everyone I know in Asia, it's much more popular there. It's kind of their version of WhatsApp, and it's just got some different features to it that some people prefer. But definitely, if you're heading to Asia, give WeChat a look. They've got it for pretty much every major smartphone, so you can find that.
Very cool. All right, that's it for us today. Thanks for joining us. As always, it's a pleasure to spend Wednesday mornings with you. We're going to play you out with the International Jam of the Week. This one is by a Chilean-American artist called Nicholas Jar. The track is Mi Mujer. He's got some really interesting stuff, very different, not afraid to think out of the box. Not exactly the jam that's going to get the party started, but it's some great background music if you're trying to get some work done or just looking to chill out. Hope you guys enjoy this one. We will be back next week, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Travel safe.
Ciao.
Oye, dime si pesada, si ya tu mujer, pelo corto, una rodilla, un plato de ti. Oye, tú me hablas de sexo y de amor, pero yo no quiero saber.
Hey, brothers, don't be shy. The best part of our day is connecting with you. Send your show feedback, comments, or questions to Eric or AJ at abroaders.com. You can also leave us an audio note right on the website and maybe even get yourself featured on the next episode of the Abroaders podcast.